The call came at 2:47 a.m. Robert Salvatore didn't sleep much anymore. Sleep required surrender, and surrender was a luxury men like him couldn't afford. So when his phone vibrated against the mahogany desk in his study, he answered on the second ring, expecting word from his underboss about the shipment delayed at Port Newark, or maybe news that the Rossetti crew had finally made their move. What he got instead was silence. Then a single text message from an unknown number. The son you don't know you have is dying in an East Village apartment. 4th floor, no elevator. Apartment 4C, better run. Attached, a photo. A little boy, maybe 4 years old, dark hair falling across a pale forehead. Eyes closed, small chest struggling beneath a faded t-shirt. And those eyes, even closed, Robert recognized the shape of them, the sharp arch of the brows. He'd seen those eyes in the mirror every morning for 38 years. But it was the second photo that stopped his heart. A woman, holding the boy against her chest. Thin frame, auburn hair tangled and damp with sweat, face turned slightly away from the camera. He couldn't see her features clearly, but he didn't need to. He knew that posture, the way she curled protectively around the child, the worn sleeve of a coat he'd once tried to replace. Denise Carter, who'd disappeared 4 years ago on a Tuesday morning in March, who'd left behind an empty apartment, a disconnected phone number, and a single note on his kitchen counter that said only, "I'm sorry, don't look for me." He'd looked anyway, burned through every contact, every favor owed, every threat he could leverage, and found nothing. She'd vanished like smoke, like she'd never existed at all. Now she was in New York, with his son. Robert was in his car before his mind caught up to his body. The city blurred past, streetlights smearing gold across rain-slicked asphalt, late-night diners glowing like dying embers, the bridge stretching endlessly, toward the skyline that never slept. His knuckles were white against the steering wheel. His jaw ached from clenching. A son. He had a son. The boy in the photo looked small, fragile, sick. Robert drove faster. Welcome to Crimson Ties, where the most dangerous men discover that the only thing more terrifying than losing power is realizing you have something worth protecting. If you believe that even broken people deserve a second chance, hit that subscribe button and like this video to support stories that make you feel deeply. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. We love hearing from you. Now, let's see what happens when a man who controls everything loses control of the one thing that matters most. The apartment building was exactly as grim as he'd expected. Cracked brick facade, graffiti layering the walls like scar tissue, a front door that hung crooked on its hinges. No doorman, no security. Just a flickering fluorescent light in the entryway that buzzed like a trapped wasp. 4th floor, no elevator. Robert took the stairs 3 at a time, his dress shoes echoing in the narrow stairwell. The air smelled like mildew and old cooking grease, something sour beneath it all. Each floor seemed identical. Peeling paint, doors with numbers half missing, the distant sound of a television playing too loud. Apartment 4C was at the end of the hall. He didn't knock. He tested the doorknob, locked, then stepped back and kicked just below the handle. The frame splintered. The door swung inward. And there she was. Denise, on her knees in the middle of a tiny living room, holding a child who was gasping for air. Her hair was longer now, tangled around her face. She was thinner than he remembered, sharp collarbones visible above the neckline of a sweater that had seen too many winters. Her hands shook as she pressed an inhaler to the boy's lips, whispering something Robert couldn't hear over the wheeze of the child's breathing. She looked up. For a moment, neither of them moved. Her eyes, green, wide, exhausted, locked onto his. He saw shock ripple across her face. Then something worse. Recognition. Not surprised that he'd found her. Surprised that he was here, in this moment, seeing this. "Denise," he said. His voice came out rougher than he intended. "Robert." She didn't stand, didn't move except to hold the boy tighter. "How did you—" "Someone sent me a message." He stepped inside, glass from a broken picture frame crunching under his shoe. The apartment was freezing. He could see his breath. How long has he been like this? 10 minutes, maybe 15. The inhaler's not working. I called 911, but they said— Her voice broke. They said 20 minutes. He doesn't have 20 minutes. Robert crossed the room in 2 strides and knelt beside them. Up close, the boy looked even smaller. His lips had a faint blue tinge. His small fingers clutched at Denise's sweater, nails digging into the fabric. "What's his name?" Robert asked. "Noah." She said it like a prayer, like the only word that mattered. Noah. His son's name was Noah. "How old?" 4. She met his eyes then, and he saw the truth she'd been carrying alone. 4 years and 2 months. The math was simple, brutal. She'd known she was pregnant when she left. Robert swallowed the rage, the questions, the betrayal that tried to claw its way up his throat. None of that mattered right now. Right now there was only this. A child who couldn't breathe, and a woman who looked like she hadn't slept in 4 years. "My car's downstairs," he said. "I'm taking him to Columbia Presbyterian. It's faster than waiting." "You can't." "I can." He reached for Noah, and Denise flinched. Just slightly. Just enough for him to see that she was still afraid of him. "Denise, let me help." Her jaw trembled. She looked down at Noah, whose eyes were starting to flutter closed, and Robert saw the exact moment she broke. "Okay," she whispered. Robert lifted Noah into his arms. The boy was light, too light, his small body curled instinctively against Robert's chest. He could feel the rapid, shallow breaths, the frantic heartbeat through the thin fabric of the t-shirt. Denise stood on shaking legs, grabbing a coat from a hook by the door. Robert noticed it was the same coat she'd worn 4 years ago, the one with the torn pocket and fraying cuffs. She hadn't bought a new one. Probably couldn't afford to. They didn't speak on the way down the stairs. Robert moved. Carefully, Noah's head resting against his shoulder, Denise close behind. When they reached the street, she stopped. "That's your car." She stared at the black Mercedes idling by the curb, hazards blinking. "Get in." She hesitated. He saw the war in her eyes, the instinct to run, the knowledge that she had no choice. "Denise." He shifted Noah slightly, and the boy whimpered. "He needs a hospital. Now." She got in. Robert slid into the driver's seat, Noah still cradled against him. Denise reached over from the passenger side, her hands immediately going to the boy's face, smoothing back his hair. "It's okay, baby," she murmured. "We're getting help. You're okay." But Noah wasn't okay. His breathing was getting worse, each inhale a high-pitched whistle that made Robert's chest tighten in a way he didn't recognize. Fear. Real, bone-deep fear. Not the calculated kind he used in negotiations, but something rawer, instinctive. He drove. The city was a blur again, but this time he barely saw it. All he could focus on was the sound of Noah's breathing, the way Denise's hand trembled against the boy's cheek, the weight of the child in his arms. His son. He had a son, and he was dying. "Talk to me," Robert said, his voice low. "Keep him awake." Denise nodded, tears streaming silently down her face. "Noah, baby. Can you hear Mommy? We're almost there, just a little longer. You're so brave, sweetheart. So brave." Noah's eyes opened slightly. He looked up at Robert with those gray eyes, his eyes, and Robert felt something crack inside his chest. "Mommy," Noah whispered, his voice barely audible. "I'm here, baby." "Can't breathe." I know, sweetheart. We're getting help." Noah's gaze shifted to Robert, unfocused and confused. "Who?" "He's a friend," Denise said quickly. Too quickly. "He's helping us." "Mommy," Noah's hand reached up, fingers brushing Robert's jaw. "Mommy can't breathe either. When I can't breathe." The words hung in the air, simple, devastating. Robert looked at Denise. She was staring at Noah, her face crumpling, and he understood. Every time this boy struggled for air, she felt it too. Every gasp, every wheeze, every moment of terror, she carried it all. For 4 years, she'd carried it alone. "We're here," Robert said, pulling up to the emergency entrance. He threw the car into park and was out the door before the engine stopped, Noah still in his arms. Denise stumbled after him, and together they burst through the sliding glass doors. "I need help." Robert's voice cut through the waiting room like a blade. 4-year-old, severe asthma attack. He's not responding to albuterol. A nurse appeared instantly, followed by a doctor. They took Noah from Robert's arms, placing him on a gurney, shouting medical terms Robert didn't understand. Denise tried to follow, but a nurse stopped her gently. "Ma'am, you need to wait here. We'll take care of him." "That's my son," Denise said, her voice breaking. "I know. We'll update you as soon as we can. I promise." They wheeled Noah through double doors. He disappeared behind them. And then it was just Robert and Denise, standing in a fluorescent-lit waiting room that smelled like antiseptic and fear. She turned to him slowly. Her face was pale, streaked with tears, her eyes red-rimmed and exhausted. "Thank you," she whispered. Robert didn't answer. Couldn't. Because the only thing running through his mind, on an endless, furious loop, was this. I have a son. She hid him from me. Someone else knew before I did. And now my son is fighting for his life behind those doors, and I don't even know if he'll make it. "We need to talk," he said finally. Denise nodded. She looked small, standing there in her threadbare coat, arms wrapped around herself like she was trying to hold the pieces together. "I know," she said. And somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. They sat in the waiting room for 43 minutes. Robert counted every one of them. Denise hadn't spoken since the doors closed behind Noah. She'd collapsed into a plastic chair near the vending machines, her coat still buttoned to her chin despite the stifling heat of the hospital. Her hands were clasped so tightly in her lap that her knuckles had gone white. She stared at the double doors like she could will them to open through sheer force of desperate hope. Robert stood. He'd always preferred standing in situations where control slipped through his fingers. Sitting felt like surrender, and he'd spent a lifetime teaching himself never to surrender. But right now, control was a joke. His son, was somewhere behind those doors, and there was nothing Robert could do except wait. He hated waiting. Hated the way it left too much room for thoughts to creep in, unwanted and relentless. 4 years. She'd kept Noah from him for 4 years. He wanted to be angry. He was angry. Fury simmered beneath his skin, a familiar heat that usually preceded violence. But every time he looked at Denise, at the way her shoulders curved inward like she was trying to disappear, at the dark circles under her eyes, at the worn-through elbows of her sweater, the anger faltered. She looked like she'd been running for 4 years, and she looked exhausted. "When did it start?" he asked finally. His voice cut through the silence, making her flinch. Denise didn't look at him. "The asthma?" "Yes. When he was 2. Her voice was hoarse. It was mild at first, just a cough that wouldn't go away, but it got worse. Every winter, it gets worse. Does he have medication? When I can afford it. She said it flatly, without shame or self-pity. Just fact. The inhaler costs $160 without insurance. I don't have insurance. Robert's jaw tightened. You could have... Don't. She turned to him then, and he saw something sharp flicker in her exhausted eyes. Don't tell me what I could have done. You don't know anything about the choices I've had to make. Then tell me. He moved closer, lowering his voice. Tell me why you left. Why you didn't tell me you were pregnant. Why you let me think you just... disappeared. Denise looked away. For a long moment she said nothing. Then quietly, because I knew what kind of man you were, what kind of life you lived, and I couldn't. Her voice broke. I couldn't bring a child into that. That wasn't your decision to make alone. Yes, it was. She met his eyes again, and this time there was steel beneath the exhaustion. It was my body, my pregnancy, my choice. And I chose to protect him. From me. From your world. The words landed like a blow. Robert felt them settle in his chest, cold and heavy. She wasn't wrong. His world was dangerous, violent, unforgiving. He'd built an empire on fear and blood, and he'd never apologized for it. But she'd made him a father without his knowledge, without his consent. And now his son was in an emergency room, fighting for air, because she'd been too proud or too afraid to ask for help. He almost died tonight, Robert said, his voice low and controlled, in that freezing apartment, because you were trying to do it alone. Denise's face crumpled. I know. You should have told me. I know. He's my son, Denise. I know. She pressed her palms against her eyes, shoulders shaking. Do you think I don't know that? Do you think there's a single day I haven't looked at him and seen you? Your eyes, your stubborn jaw, the way he furrows, his brow when he's concentrating? I know exactly whose son he is, Robert. I've lived with that knowledge every single day for 4 years. Robert opened his mouth to respond, but the double doors swung open. A doctor appeared, young, with tired eyes, and a stethoscope draped around her neck. Denise was on her feet instantly. Noah Carter? The doctor asked. Yes. Denise's voice shook. Is he? He's stable. The doctor offered a small smile. We got him on oxygen and administered a corticosteroid. His breathing has improved significantly. He's going to be okay. Denise made a sound that was half sob, half laugh. Her legs buckled slightly, and Robert caught her elbow, steadying her. She didn't pull away. Can I see him? She asked. Of course. He's asking for you. The doctor glanced at Robert. And you are? Robert hesitated. What was he? The father who didn't know his son existed until 2 hours ago? The stranger who'd kicked down a door and carried the boy here? Family, Denise said quietly. She didn't look at him. He's family. The doctor nodded. Follow me. Noah was in a small room at the end of a long corridor. He looked impossibly tiny in the hospital bed, dwarfed by white sheets and surrounded by machines that beeped softly. An oxygen mask covered half his face, fogging with each breath. His eyes were closed, dark lashes resting against pale cheeks. Denise rushed to his side, her hand immediately going to his forehead, smoothing back his hair. Baby, she whispered. Mommy's here. Noah's eyes fluttered open. When he saw her, a weak smile curved his lips beneath the mask. Mommy. Hi, sweetheart. How are you feeling? Tired. His voice was muffled by the mask. Then his gaze shifted past her, landing on Robert. Who's that? Denise stiffened. She glanced back at Robert, who stood just inside the doorway, hands in his pockets, trying to look less imposing than he was. "That's," she faltered. "That's Mr. Salvatore. He's the one who brought us here." "Oh." Noah studied Robert with open curiosity. "Thank you, Mr. Salvatore." Robert's throat tightened. Hearing his name in that small, raspy voice did something to him, cracked something open that he'd kept sealed for years. "You're welcome, Noah." He stepped closer, slowly, like approaching a skittish animal. "You gave us quite a scare." "I'm sorry." Noah's brow furrowed. That expression, God, it was like looking in a mirror. "I tried to breathe better, but it was hard." "It's not your fault." Robert crouched down, bringing himself to eye level with the bed. "Sometimes our bodies don't cooperate, but you were very brave." Noah's eyes brightened slightly. "Really? Really? Mommy says I'm brave too. She says I'm the bravest boy she knows." He looked at Denise, adoration clear in his young face. "Right, Mommy." "The absolute bravest," Denise confirmed, her voice thick with emotion. Noah yawned, his eyelids drooping. "I'm sleepy." "Then sleep, baby. I'll be right. Here. Promise?" "Promise." "Okay." Noah's eyes closed. Within seconds, his breathing evened out, soft and steady beneath the oxygen mask. Denise stood there for a long moment, just watching him. Then slowly, she turned to Robert. "We should talk," she said quietly. "Somewhere else." Robert nodded. He followed her out into the hallway, where the fluorescent lights felt too bright after the dimness of Noah's room. They found an empty alcove near a window overlooking the city. Denise crossed her arms, defensive. "I know what you're going to say." "Do you?" "You're going to tell me I was wrong, that I should have told you, that Noah deserved to know his father." She swallowed hard. "And you're right. About all of it. But Robert, you have to understand. When I left, I was terrified. Not of you, exactly, but of what you represented. The violence, the danger, the constant fear that something might happen to you, or to anyone near you. I couldn't raise a child in that shadow. So you raised him in poverty instead." The words came out harsher than he intended. Denise flinched. "I did the best I could. Your best almost killed him tonight. Don't." Her voice rose, sharp and furious. "Don't you dare stand there and judge me. I have worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, to keep a roof over his head and food in his mouth. I have gone without meals so he could eat. I have walked miles in the snow because I couldn't afford the subway. I have given him everything I have. And yes, sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes the inhaler runs out before payday. Sometimes the heat doesn't work, and I have to pile every blanket we own on his bed just to keep him warm. But I have never stopped fighting for him. Not for one single day." Her chest heaved. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't wipe them away. She just stood there, fierce and broken and defiant. And Robert felt something shift inside him. She wasn't weak. She'd never been weak. She was a mother, fighting a war with no weapons and no backup. And she'd been fighting it alone. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. Denise blinked, surprised. "What?" "I'm sorry. You're right. I don't know what it's been like for you. I don't know what choices you've had to make or what you've sacrificed." He paused. "But I'm here now, and I want to help. Robert, I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm not asking you to forgive me for whatever you think I did wrong 4 years ago. But that boy in there," he gestured toward Noah's room, "he's mine, and I take care of what's mine." Denise searched his face, wary. "What does that mean?" "It means you don't have to do this alone anymore. It means Noah gets the medication he needs, the care he needs. It means you stop working yourself to death just to survive." I don't want your charity. It's not charity. He's my son. This is my responsibility. You didn't even know he existed until tonight. And whose fault is that? The words came out sharper than he intended. But he didn't. Take them back. Denise looked away, her jaw tight. Robert exhaled slowly, forcing himself to soften. I'm not trying to fight with you, Denise. I'm trying to help. Let me. She was quiet for a long time. Then finally, what do you want from us? I want to know my son. He said it simply. Honestly. I want to be part of his life, however that looks. And if I say no? Robert met her eyes. Then I'll respect that. But I won't walk away. Not from him. Denise bit her lip, considering. He could see the war playing out behind her eyes, the fear, the exhaustion, the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to carry this alone anymore. Okay, she said finally, but we do this my way, slowly. Noah doesn't know who you are. He can't, not yet. Agreed. And if at any point I think your world is putting him in danger, then you take him and run, and I won't stop you. Robert said it like a vow. I promise. Denise studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay. Okay. They stood there in the alcove, neither quite sure what happened next. Outside the window, the city glittered, indifferent to the fragile truce being formed in a hospital corridor. Finally, Denise spoke. The doctor said Noah needs to stay overnight for observation. I should get back to him. I'll take you home tomorrow, both of you. Robert, not to my place, to yours, or wherever you want to go, but I'm not leaving you to navigate this alone. He paused. And Denise, we need to talk about something else. Her brow furrowed. What? That message I got tonight. The one with Noah's photo. His voice went cold. Someone knew about him before I did. Someone who wanted me to know. That's not random. That's calculated. Denise's face went pale. What are you saying? I'm saying someone out there knows you have my son. And if they sent that message to me, they might send information to others. People who would use Noah to hurt me. Oh, God. She pressed a hand to her mouth. What do we do? We keep him safe. Robert said it like a promise. Whatever it takes. Noah was released from the hospital the next morning with a new prescription, instructions for follow-up care, and a warning that another severe attack could be fatal without proper treatment. Robert paid the bill without asking. When Denise tried to protest, he simply handed her the discharge papers and said, "We'll talk about it later." They didn't talk about it later. Instead, Robert drove them back to the apartment in the East Village. In daylight, it looked even worse than it had at night. The building sagged like something exhausted, its brick facade stained with decades of grime and neglect. Graffiti covered the lower walls. A broken window on the second floor had been patched with cardboard. "This is where you've been living?" Robert asked, unable to keep the edge from his voice. Denise climbed out of the car, Noah drowsy and quiet in her arms. "It's what I can afford. It's not safe. It's fine." "Denise, I said it's fine, Robert." She turned to face him, Noah's head resting on her shoulder. "Thank you for your help last night, and for the ride. But we're okay now." She started toward the building entrance. Robert followed. "I'll walk you up." "That's not necessary. Humor me." Denise sighed but didn't argue. They climbed the 4 flights in silence, Noah dozing against his mother's shoulder. When they reached apartment 4C, the door still hung slightly crooked from where Robert had kicked it in. Denise stared at it for a moment, something like defeat crossing her face. "I'll send someone to fix that," Robert said. You don't want charity. I know." He stepped past her, examining the damaged frame. Consider it restitution for breaking it. She let out a breath that might have been a laugh. Fine. Inside, the apartment looked different in daylight. Smaller somehow. More desperate. The living room was barely large enough for a threadbare couch and a small TV, balanced on a milk crate. The kitchen was a narrow galley with appliances that looked older than Noah. Through an open doorway, Robert could see a single bedroom, one bed, covered in mismatched blankets, with stuffed animals piled against the headboard. One bed. "Where do you sleep?" he asked. Denise set Noah down carefully on the couch, tucking a blanket around him. The couch folds out. "Denise, I'm fine, Robert." She straightened, brushing hair from her face. "This isn't your problem." "Yes, it is." He moved closer, lowering his voice so he wouldn't wake Noah. "That message last night wasn't random. Someone knows about Noah. Someone who knew exactly how to find me. That means you're both exposed, vulnerable. We've been fine for 4 years. You've been lucky for 4 years, but luck runs out." He pulled out his phone. "I have a place in Brooklyn, Brownstone and Park Slope. 3 bedrooms, security system, safe neighborhood. You and Noah can stay there." Denise stared at him. "Absolutely not." "It's not a request." "Yes, it is, because I'm not moving into your house, Robert. I'm not—" She caught herself, glancing at Noah to make sure he was still asleep. When she spoke again, her voice was lower, but no less firm. "I'm not going to become some kept woman. I've worked too hard to stand on my own 2 feet. This isn't about keeping you. This is about keeping Noah safe. From threats that might not even exist. You want to take that chance?" Robert held her gaze. "Someone sent me that message. Someone wanted me to know about Noah at the exact moment he was dying. That's not coincidence, Denise. That's strategy. And I need to find out who did it and why. But while I'm doing that, I need to know you're both somewhere safe." Denise's jaw worked. He could see her struggling, pride warring with fear, independence battling instinct. "What about my job?" she asked finally. "Keep it or don't. Your choice." "I need my job. Then I'll have someone drive you to work and back, every day, non-negotiable." "Robert, please." The word felt foreign on his tongue. He wasn't a man who begged, but looking at her now, at the exhaustion etched into every line of her face, at the way her hands trembled slightly despite her defiant posture, he realized he'd do it. He'd beg if that's what it took. "Let me do this. Not because you need me to, but because I need to. Because I missed 4 years of his life and I won't miss the chance to protect him. Now." Something in Denise's expression softened. Just slightly. Just enough. "1 week," she said. "We'll stay for 1 week while you investigate or whatever you need to do. But after that, we're coming back here. Understood?" It wasn't enough. Not remotely. But it was a start. "Understood," Robert lied. The brownstone in Park Slope was the kind of place Denise had only ever seen in magazines. Tall windows flooded the space with natural light. Hardwood floors gleamed beneath expensive rugs. The kitchen had marble countertops and appliances that probably cost more than her annual salary. Upstairs, there were 3 bedrooms, each larger than her entire apartment, with attached bathrooms that had both showers and tubs. Noah was delighted. He ran from room to room, his small voice echoing through the empty spaces, marveling at everything. "Mommy, look, there's a bathtub with bubbles. Can we use it? Please?" Denise stood in the master bedroom, arms crossed, feeling profoundly out of place. Through the window, she could see tree-lined streets, brownstones that probably dated back a century, a small park where children played on swings. It was beautiful. It was a cage. "This is yours," Robert said from the doorway. He'd been giving her space since they arrived, letting her explore on her own terms. "Noah's room is across the hall. I set up the third bedroom as an office if you need it." "Where will you sleep?" Denise asked. "I have an apartment in Manhattan, near my office." He said office, the way normal people said torture chamber. "I'll stop by daily, check in, make sure you have everything you need." "You're not staying here? Would you want me to?" Denise hesitated. The honest answer was complicated. No, she didn't want him here, invading her space, reminding her of everything she'd run from. But also, treacherously, yes. Because despite everything, despite 4 years of absence, Robert Salvatore was the first person in a very long time who'd made her feel like she didn't have to carry the weight of the world alone. "I don't know," she admitted. Robert nodded slowly. "Then I'll stay away. For now." "But Denise?" He moved closer, and she was reminded of how tall he was, how his presence seemed to fill a room. "If you need anything, you call me, day or night. I don't care what it is." He handed her a phone, new, sleek, expensive. "My number's programmed in. So is my underboss, Marco, and my driver, Tony. Emergency services. Noah's pediatrician. I had my assistant set up an appointment for next week." Denise stared at the phone. "You did all this in one morning?" "I've done more in less time. I don't..." She stopped herself. She'd been about to say, "I don't need this." But that was a lie. She did need it. Noah needed it. And maybe, just maybe, it was okay to accept help. "Thank you." Robert's expression softened slightly. "You're welcome." From down the hall, Noah's voice called out, "Mommy, there's a big TV in my room. Can we watch cartoons?" Denise managed a small smile. "I should go." "Of course." Robert stepped back, giving her space. "I'll let myself out. Lock the door behind me. Alarm code is 4273. "Okay." He turned to leave, then paused. "Denise?" "Yeah?" "He's a good kid. You did that. Whatever else you think you got wrong, you got that right." He left before she could respond. Denise stood alone in the beautiful bedroom, holding an expensive phone she didn't ask for, living in a house she didn't deserve, and for the first time in 4 years, she let herself cry. Not from fear or exhaustion or desperation, but from relief. The first 3 days passed in a strange, suspended peace. Noah adapted quickly, the way children do. He loved his new room with its big windows and soft carpet. He loved the bathtub that was deep enough to swim in. He loved the kitchen where the refrigerator actually had food instead of condiments and wilted vegetables. Denise was less adaptable. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was living in someone else's life. Every time she used the coffee maker, or turned on the heat, or pulled food from the fully stocked pantry, guilt gnawed at her. This wasn't hers. This was borrowed. Temporary. A beautiful illusion that would shatter the moment Robert decided she wasn't worth the trouble. But he didn't. He came by every afternoon, always calling first, always asking permission. He brought groceries. He brought Noah books and puzzles. He sat on the floor of Noah's room and played cars, his expensive suit rumpled and forgotten, listening intently as Noah explained the rules of a game only 4-year-olds understood. And Denise watched, torn between gratitude and terror. Because she was starting to see the man she'd fallen for 4 years ago, the one who'd been careful with her, patient, unexpectedly gentle, the one who'd made her believe that maybe, just maybe, there was more to him than the reputation that preceded him. That man had scared her. This man, this version who looked at Noah like he'd hung the moon, terrified her in an entirely different way. On the fourth evening, Denise was making dinner when Robert arrived. Noah was in the living room, building an elaborate structure with blocks, narrating the story to himself in a serious voice that made her smile. "Hey," Robert said, appearing in the kitchen doorway. "Something smells good." "Just pasta." Denise stirred the pot, not looking at him. "Nothing fancy." "Mind if I stay?" She did mind. She minded the way his presence made the kitchen feel smaller, warmer. She minded the way Noah's face lit up when he heard Robert's voice. She minded the domestic ease of it all, how dangerously normal it felt. But what she said was, "Sure." They ate at the dining table, Noah chattering between bites about his blocks and the cartoon he'd watched and how he'd seen a bird outside his window that morning. Robert listened to every word, asking questions, genuinely engaged. After dinner, while Denise cleaned up, Robert read Noah a bedtime story. She listened from the kitchen, drying dishes by hand, even though there was a perfectly good dishwasher, just to keep her hands busy. Robert's voice drifted down the hallway, low and steady, reading about a bear who couldn't sleep. Noah interrupted constantly, asking questions, making observations, and Robert answered every single one with a patience Denise had never associated with him. When silence finally fell, Robert appeared in the kitchen doorway. "He's asleep," he said quietly. "Thank you." Denise set down the dish towel. "You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to." They stood there for a moment, the weight of everything unsaid pressing between them. "He's asking questions about you," Denise said finally. "About why you're here so much, what we are to each other." "What did you tell him?" "That you're a friend helping us out." Robert nodded slowly. "And when do you plan to tell him the truth?" "I don't know." Denise leaned against the counter, suddenly exhausted. "He's 4, Robert. How do I explain that his father is... you? What's wrong with me?" "You know what's wrong." She said it without malice, just fact. "You're a criminal, Robert. You hurt people. You break the law. You live in a world where violence is currency. And I don't..." Her voice cracked. "I don't know how to reconcile the man who just read my son a bedtime story with the man I know you are." Robert was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was careful, controlled. "My father was a drunk," he said. "Violent, mean. He used to..." He stopped, jaw tight. "It doesn't matter. Point is, I swore I'd never be like him. And I'm not. I've done things I'm not proud of. Things I can't take back. But I've never raised a hand to a woman or a child. I've never..." He exhaled slowly. "I'm not my father." Denise looked at him, really looked at him, at the tension in his shoulders, the haunted look in his eyes that she'd never noticed before. "I know," she said softly, "but that doesn't change what you do, who you are." "No," Robert agreed. "It doesn't." He left shortly after, and Denise stood alone in the too big kitchen, wondering how she'd ended up here, in this beautiful prison, falling for the same dangerous man all over again. The call came on the 6th day. Denise was folding laundry in the living room while Noah napped upstairs when her new phone buzzed. Robert's name flashed across the screen. "Hello?" "Don't panic." His voice was tight, controlled in a way that meant he was barely holding on to control at all. "But I need you to lock all the doors and windows. Now." Denise's blood went cold. "What's happening?" "I'm handling it, but someone's been watching the house. Marco spotted them an hour ago. They're gone now, but I'm sending extra security. Tony's already on his way." "Robert, lock the doors. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. Denise moved through the house on autopilot, checking locks, closing blinds, her heart hammering against her ribs. This was it. The thing she'd been afraid of. The danger she'd spent 4 years running from. It had found them anyway. Noah woke from his nap while she was securing the back door. "Mommy? What's wrong?" "Nothing, baby." She forced a smile. "Just making sure everything's locked up tight." "Like a castle?" "Exactly like a castle." Noah seemed satisfied with that answer. He wandered back to his room and Denise heard him resume playing, with his toys, blissfully unaware. When the doorbell rang 17 minutes later, she checked the security monitor before answering. Robert stood on the front step, flanked by 2 large men in dark suits. She opened the door. Robert stepped inside immediately, his eyes scanning the space like he expected threats to materialize from the shadows. "You locked everything?" "Yes." "Good." He turned to the men behind him. "Tony, perimeter check. Marco, I want cameras on every entrance by tonight." They dispersed without argument, and Robert finally looked at Denise. Really looked at her. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Am I okay?" Her voice rose despite her effort to stay calm. "You just called and told me someone's watching us." "No, Robert. I'm not okay." "I know. I'm sorry." He ran a hand through his hair, a rare sign of agitation. "I'm working on finding out who it is, but until I do, until you do, we're trapped here." Denise wrapped her arms around herself. "This is exactly what I was afraid of. This is why I left." "I know. Do you? Because it feels like you're just now realizing that your world is dangerous, that people get hurt, that I've always known." Robert's voice went quiet. "Dangerous. I've known my whole life. I've watched people I care about get hurt because of who I am. I've buried..." He stopped himself. Exhaled. "I know the cost, Denise. Better than you think." She studied his face, seeing something raw there. Something old and scarred. "Tell me," she said, quietly. "Tell you what? Why you live like this? What made you... him?" Robert was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, slowly, he moved to the couch and sat, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. "My mother," he said finally. "She died when I was 7. Denise sat down beside him, careful to leave space between them. "My father killed her." Robert said it flatly, without emotion, like he was reading a grocery list. "He didn't mean to. He was drunk. They were fighting. He pushed her down the stairs, broke her neck. He called it an accident. The police believed him. I was there. I knew better." "Robert?" "I went into the system after that. Foster homes. Some were okay. Most weren't. I learned fast that the world doesn't give a damn about kids like me. Kids with no one. No protection. No power." He looked at her then, and his eyes were hollow. "So I decided to become someone who had power. Someone no one could hurt. Someone who could protect the people who needed it." "Is that what you tell yourself?" Denise asked gently. "That you're protecting people?" "Sometimes." A humorless smile touched his lips. "Other times I know exactly what I am. A criminal. A killer when necessary. Someone who profits from other people's desperation." He paused. "But I've never hurt anyone who didn't deserve it. And I've never, ever turned my back on a kid who needed help." "Is that why you came that night? When you got the message about Noah?" "Yes." He said it simply. "I saw that photo. Saw a child who couldn't breathe. And I didn't care who he was or why I was being told. I just knew I had to get there." Denise felt something crack inside her chest. The wall she'd built between them, brick by careful brick, was starting to crumble. "You're not your father," she said quietly. "No." Robert looked at her. "But I'm not innocent either." I've done things that would make you leave again if you knew. Things I can't undo. And I won't apologize for them because they kept me alive. They built the life that's keeping you and Noah safe right now. I know. Denise reached out, hesitant, and placed her hand over his. I'm not asking you to be someone you're not, Robert. I'm trying to understand. His hand turned, fingers threading through hers. The touch was electric, familiar, terrifying. I need to ask you something, he said, and I need you to be honest. Okay. That night you left, 4 years ago, did someone threaten you? Is that why you ran? Denise went still. What? I've been thinking about it. About why you'd leave without a word, without money, without a plan. You were 3 months pregnant, Denise. You had to have been desperate. His grip tightened slightly. So I need to know. Did someone from my world scare you? Threaten you? Because if they did, no. She said it firmly. No one threatened me. I left because I was scared, yes, but not of anyone specific. I was scared of everything. The life you lived. The violence. The constant danger. I didn't want that for our child. Our child. Robert repeated the words like he was testing them. You said our child. Denise realized what she'd admitted. For 4 years, Noah had been her child. My son. But somewhere between the hospital and now, something had shifted. Yes, she said softly. Our child. Robert looked at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. Then slowly, he raised their joined hands and pressed his lips to her knuckles. Thank you, he murmured against her skin. Before Denise could respond, footsteps sounded on the stairs. Noah appeared, dragging his stuffed rabbit, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Mommy? I'm hungry. Robert released her hand immediately, standing. I'll make him something. You don't have to. I want to. He looked at Noah and smiled, a real smile, unguarded and warm. What do you like, buddy? Grilled cheese, mac and cheese, dinosaur-shaped nuggets? Noah's eyes widened. You have dinosaur nuggets? I can get them. Give me 20 minutes. Really? Really. Noah squealed with delight and ran to hug Robert's legs. Robert froze for just a moment, like he didn't know what to do. Then, carefully, he placed a hand on Noah's head, his expression transforming into something Denise had never seen before. Wonder. Pure, unfiltered wonder. I'll be right back, Robert said, his voice rough. He left, and Denise sat on the couch, watching her son chatter about dinosaurs to the empty doorway, and, realized with startling clarity that she was in trouble. Because she was starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, Robert Salvatore could be the father Noah deserved. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. The dinosaur nuggets became a ritual. Every evening, Robert would arrive with something Noah requested. Sometimes food, sometimes a toy, once an entire set of building blocks that took up half the living room floor. And every evening, he'd stay for dinner, helping with bath time, reading bedtime stories in that low, steady voice that seemed to calm even Noah's wildest energy. Denise watched it happen, this slow transformation. Robert wasn't trying to buy Noah's affection. At least, she didn't think he was. He was learning how to be patient, how to listen, how to kneel down to a child's level and take seriously the concerns of a 4-year-old who was worried his stuffed rabbit didn't like vegetables. He'll be fine, Robert had said seriously, examining the toy. Rabbits are actually omnivores. He can have carrots and chicken nuggets. Noah had been delighted. Denise had bitten back a smile. But beneath the domestic normalcy, tension simmered. Robert's men were a constant presence now. Tony drove Denise to and from her waitressing shifts, always parking close, always watching. Marco did regular security sweeps of the house. And twice, Denise had woken in the middle of the night to see dark figures patrolling the perimeter, shadows with earpieces and concealed weapons. She was living in a fortress pretending to be a home. On the 10th day, everything changed. Denise was at the diner, midway through her evening shift, when her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Pretty house in Park Slope. Pretty little boy in the window. Would be a shame if something happened to him. Her blood turned to ice. Another message arrived immediately after. Tell Robert Salvatore that Marco Rossetti sends his regards, and that debts are coming due. Denise's. Hands shook so badly she nearly dropped the coffee pot she was holding. She set it down carefully, told her manager she was sick, and called Tony with trembling fingers. He answered on the first ring. Mrs. Carter? They sent me a message about Noah, about... Stay there, I'm 2 minutes away. Tony arrived in 90 seconds. He swept her into the car, already dialing Robert, already accelerating before Denise had even fastened her seatbelt. Boss, Tony said into his phone. We have a problem. Robert was at the brownstone when they arrived. So was Marco, and half a dozen other men Denise didn't recognize, all of them armed, all of them tense. She ran inside, past all of them, taking the stairs 2 at a time. Noah was in his room, building a castle out of blocks, completely unaware. When he saw her, he smiled. Mommy, look what I made. Denise pulled him into her arms, holding him so tightly he squeaked. Mommy, you're squishing me. Sorry, baby. She loosened her grip, but didn't let go. I just missed you. I missed you too. Noah squirmed free and returned to his blocks. Mr. Robert's friend Marco is downstairs. He's really tall. I know, sweetheart. Denise stayed with Noah until Robert appeared in the doorway. His face was carved from stone, expression unreadable. Can we talk? He asked quietly. She nodded, kissed Noah's head, and followed Robert into the hallway. He led her to the master bedroom and closed the door. Show me, he said. Denise handed him her phone. Robert read the messages, his jaw tightening with each word. When he finished, he handed the phone back and turned away, hands braced against the dresser. I'm going to kill him, Robert said quietly, conversationally, like he was discussing the weather. Robert, Marco Rossetti is a dead man. He just doesn't know it yet. Who is he? Rival family. We've had disagreements. Robert's voice was flat, controlled in a way that meant violence was simmering just beneath the surface. His father and mine had issues, old grudges, old blood. I thought we'd moved past it, but apparently... He stopped, exhaled. This is my fault. What? This. He turned to face her, and his eyes were dark, haunted. You were right to leave. You were right to keep Noah away from me. Because this is what my world looks like. Threats, violence, innocent people used as leverage. Robert, you can't. He threatened my son, Denise. The words came out raw, broken. He threatened a 4-year-old child to get to me, and if I don't end this now, it won't stop. There will be others, more threats, more danger, and eventually... He couldn't finish the sentence. Denise moved closer, placing her hand on his chest. His heart was racing beneath her palm. What are you going to do? She asked. What I should have done weeks ago. I'm going to handle this. What does that mean? Robert covered her hand with his. It means you and Noah stay here, protected, while I make sure Marco, Rossetti never threatens anyone again. You're going to kill him. Yes. The simple honesty of it should have terrified her. Maybe it did. But beneath the terror was something else. Something darker. Because a part of her, the part that had spent 4 years looking over her shoulder, that had felt her son struggle for breath while she was powerless to help, that part wanted Marco Rossetti dead. And that realization was almost as frightening as the threat itself. "When?" she asked. "Tonight. Robert, I need you to trust me." He turned his hand, threading his fingers through hers. "I need you to stay here with Noah, and let me protect you both the only way I know how." Denise searched his face, saw the determination there, the rage, but also something else. Fear. Real, visceral fear for Noah. For her. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay? Okay." She squeezed his hand. "But promise me something. Anything. Come back. Whatever you have to do out there, just come back." Robert pulled her close, pressing his forehead against hers. "I promise." He left an hour later. Denise watched from the upstairs window as he climbed into a black SUV, Marco and 3 other men following. The vehicles disappeared into the night, and she was left alone with Noah and 2 guards stationed outside. She tried to act normal, made Noah dinner, played cards with him in the living room, read him 3 bedtime stories when he wouldn't settle. But her mind was elsewhere. With Robert, with whatever he was doing, with the violence she knew was unfolding somewhere in the city. At 11 o'clock, Noah finally fell asleep. Denise sat in the living room, phone clutched in her hand, waiting. Midnight came and went, then 1 a.m., then 2. At 2:33 a.m., headlights swept across the front of the house. Denise was at the door before the car had fully stopped. Robert emerged, alone this time, his suit jacket missing. There was blood on his white shirt. Not a lot, just enough to tell a story. "Are you hurt?" she asked immediately. "No." He walked past the guards without acknowledging them, moving straight to her. "It's done. Marco Rossetti won't be a problem anymore. Neither will his crew." "Is he—" "Yes." Denise should have felt horror, disgust. Instead, she felt relief. Overwhelming, shameful relief. "Good," she said. Robert looked at her, surprise flickering across his face. Then, slowly, he reached out and touched her cheek. "You're shaking," he said softly. "I was scared. That you wouldn't come back. That something would happen to you. And Noah would lose his father before he even knew he had one." Robert's expression cracked, just slightly. Just enough to let her see the man beneath the armor. "I'm here," he said. "I'm not going anywhere." Denise didn't think, didn't analyze. She just moved forward and kissed him. Robert froze for half a heartbeat. Then his arms came around her, pulling her close, and he kissed her back with 4 years of longing and loss and desperate need. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Robert rested his forehead against hers. "Denise, don't." She pressed a finger to his lips. "Don't overthink this. Don't tell me all the reasons this is a bad idea. Just stay tonight. Please." Robert searched her eyes. Then, quietly, "Okay." They went upstairs together. Robert showered while Denise checked on Noah one more time, finding him sprawled across his bed, rabbit clutched in one small fist, completely at peace. When she returned to the master bedroom, Robert was standing by the window, wearing borrowed sweatpants, his hair still damp. Without his suit, he looked younger, more vulnerable. "Come to bed," Denise said. He did. They lay facing each other in the darkness, not touching, just breathing the same air. "I killed 5 men tonight," Robert said quietly. "Does that bother you?" "It should," Denise answered honestly. "But it doesn't. Not when they threaten Noah. Not when—" She stopped. I don't know what. That makes me human. Robert reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. It makes you human. They fell asleep like that, close but not quite touching, two people trying to figure out if love could survive in the ruins of broken trust. Morning arrived too soon. Denise woke to find Robert already awake, propped on one elbow, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. How long have you been staring at me? She asked, her voice rough with sleep. Long enough to memorize every detail. He said it without embarrassment. In case you disappear again. Denise's chest tightened. I'm not going to disappear. You did once. I was scared. Are you still? She considered the question. Was she scared? Yes. Terrified, actually. But not of Robert anymore. She was scared of this fragile thing building between them. This hope that maybe they could be a family. Yes, she admitted, but not the way you think. Before Robert could respond, the sound of small feet thundered down the hallway. Noah burst into the room, already talking. Mommy, I had a dream about dinosaurs and they were eating waffles and... Oh! He stopped short, seeing Robert in the bed. Mr. Robert, did you have a sleepover? Denise's face heated. Robert, to his credit, didn't miss a beat. I did, he said easily. Your mom and I were talking late, so I stayed over. Is that okay? Noah thought about this very seriously. Then he nodded. Okay, but next time I want a sleepover too. With dinosaur waffles. Deal. Noah climbed onto the bed, wiggling between them without hesitation. Can we make dinosaur waffles now? Robert looked at Denise, a question in his eyes. She nodded. Let's do it, Robert said, scooping Noah up in one smooth motion. Noah shrieked with delight as Robert lifted him high. But first we need to get dressed. Think you can help me pick out a shirt? Yes, I'm really good at picking. They disappeared into Noah's room, leaving Denise alone in the too large chair, bed, heart full of something dangerously close to hope. The next 3 days were the best of Denise's life. Robert stayed. Not just overnight, but truly stayed. He worked from the Brownstones' office, dealing with business calls and meetings via video while remaining close. He cooked meals, badly, but earnestly. He played endless games of cars and blocks. He asked questions about Noah's routines, his likes and dislikes, his fears and dreams. And slowly, carefully, they began to tell Noah the truth. It started small. Robert sitting Noah down one afternoon, asking, Do you know what a father is? Noah had nodded seriously. It's like a daddy. But some kids don't have daddies. Like me. What if I told you, Robert said carefully, that you do have a daddy, that he's been looking for you for a long time? Noah's eyes had gone wide. Really? Where is he? Robert glanced at Denise. She nodded, tears already forming. Right here, Robert said softly. It's me, Noah. I'm your dad. Noah stared at him for a long moment. Then with the brutal honesty of childhood, Are you sure? Despite everything, Robert laughed. Very sure. Oh, Noah processed this. Does this mean we get to keep you? If you want me. Noah threw his arms around Robert's neck. Yes, I want a daddy. And just like that, it was done. Later that night, after Noah was asleep, Robert found Denise in the kitchen. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For giving me a chance, for letting me be his father. He paused. For not running when you had every reason to. Denise set down the dish she was washing and turned to face him. I'm tired of running, Robert. I've been running for 4 years and it hasn't kept us any safer. Maybe... She took a breath. Maybe it's time to stop running and start fighting. together. Robert crossed the kitchen in 2 strides and kissed her. Not gently, not carefully, but with the desperate intensity of a man who'd been given something precious and refused to let it go. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Robert spoke against her lips. "Marry me." Denise pulled back, shocked. "What?" "Marry me." He said it again, more firmly. "Not because you have to, not because I'm demanding it, but because I love you, because I love our son, because I want us to be a family." "Robert, we can't just—" "Why not?" He cupped her face in his hands. "Give me one good reason." "Because it's too fast. Because we've only been back in each other's lives for 2 weeks. Because you're scared," Robert finished. "I'm scared too, Denise. I'm terrified. But I'm more scared of losing you again, of waking up one morning and finding you gone. So I'm asking you now, while you're here, while I have the chance, marry me. Let me protect you. Let me love you. Let me be the father Noah deserves, and the husband you deserve." Denise stared at him, heart pounding. Every rational part of her brain was screaming that this was insane, that 2 weeks wasn't enough time, that love didn't work this way. But her heart, her traitorous, desperate heart, was screaming something else entirely. "Yes," she whispered. Robert's eyes widened. "Yes?" "Yes." She laughed, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I'll marry you. God help me, yes." Robert kissed her again, lifting her off her feet, spinning her around the kitchen like they were characters in a movie. And for the first time in 4 years, Denise let herself believe in happy endings. The engagement lasted exactly 4 days. On the 5th day, Denise woke to find Robert's side of the bed empty. She reached for her phone, planning to text him when she saw it. A message. From the same unknown number that had threatened Noah. "Congratulations on the engagement. Marco sends his regards from hell." Oh wait. Marco is dead. But his brother isn't. Neither are his cousins. Or his uncle. "You killed one Rossetti. There are 12 more. And they're coming for the boy." Attached was a photo. Noah, taken through the window of his bedroom, sleeping peacefully. Denise's scream brought Robert running. He burst into the room, gun drawn, eyes wild. What happened? She couldn't speak, just handed him the phone with shaking hands. Robert read the message, looked at the photo, and something in his expression died. "Get Noah," he said quietly. "Pack a bag. We're leaving." "Where?" "Somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't find you." He looked at her, and she saw the fear in his eyes. Raw, unfiltered. "I'm ending this. Denise. Today. But I need to know you and Noah are safe while I do it. You can't face 12 people alone. I'm not alone. I have my crew, my resources, my—" He stopped. "I have everything I need except the assurance that you're both safe. So please, please, Denise, take Noah and go." She wanted to argue, wanted to insist they face this together. But when she looked at the photo of her sleeping son, vulnerable and exposed, she knew Robert was right. "Okay," she whispered. "Where?" "There's a safe house upstate, 3 hours north. Guarded. Isolated. No one knows about it except Marco and Tony." He pulled out his phone, already dialing. "Tony will drive you. Stay there until I call. Robert, I love you." He said it fiercely, desperately. "I love you and Noah more than I've ever loved anything. So trust me. Let me do what I do best." Denise kissed him hard. "Come back to us. I promise." They left within the hour. Noah, still half asleep, was bundled into the car with his stuffed rabbit and a backpack of clothes. Denise sat in the back with him, holding him close, watching the brownstone disappear in the rearview mirror. Robert stood on the front step, watching them go, his expression unreadable. The last thing Denise saw before they turned the corner was him pulling out his phone, already making calls. Already preparing for war. The safe house was exactly what Robert had promised. Isolated, guarded, and completely off the grid. It sat at the end of a long gravel driveway, surrounded by forest, miles from the nearest town. Inside, it was sparse but comfortable. 2 bedrooms, a kitchen stocked with supplies, a living room with thick curtains permanently drawn. Noah thought it was an adventure. He explored every room, declared the upstairs bedroom perfect for a fort, and asked when they could go home. Denise had no answer for him. They'd been there for 3 days when her phone finally rang. Robert's name flashed across the screen. She answered on the Maun, first ring. "Robert?" "It's done." His voice was rough, exhausted. "They're gone, all of them. The Rossetti family is finished." Denise's knees buckled. She sank onto the couch, relief washing over her in waves so powerful she thought she might drown. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I'm alive. That's more than I can say for them." A pause. "I'm coming to get you. I'll be there in 2 hours." "Robert, are you sure it's safe?" "It's safe. I made sure of it. No one's coming after Noah again. No one." She heard the promise in his voice. The vow. "Okay," she whispered. "We'll be waiting." Robert arrived exactly 2 hours later. Denise heard the car before she saw it, tires crunching on gravel. She watched from the window as he emerged, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His suit was rumpled, his face shadowed with stubble, his eyes hollow. But when he saw her standing in the doorway, his entire expression transformed. He crossed the distance between them in long strides, and pulled her into, his arms holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. "It's over," he murmured against her hair. "It's really over." "Daddy!" Noah came running from the kitchen, launching himself at Robert's legs. Robert crouched down, catching him, lifting him up. "Hey, buddy, I missed you." "I missed you too. Are we going home now?" Robert looked at Denise over Noah's head. "Yeah, we're going home." They didn't go back to the brownstone. Instead, Robert took them to a house Denise had never seen before. It was in Connecticut, set back from the road, surrounded by trees and open space. Big, but not ostentatiously so. Warm. Inviting. "What is this place?" Denise asked as they pulled up the driveway. "Ours." Robert parked the car and turned to her. "I bought it last week. Had it set up while you were gone. Thought maybe we could start fresh. Away from the city. Away from everything." Denise stared at the house. At the porch swing moving gently in the breeze. At the yard where Noah could play safely. "You bought us a house." "I bought us a home," Robert corrected. "If you want it." She did. God help her, she did. They moved in that same day. Noah claimed the bedroom with the window overlooking the backyard, immediately declaring it the best room ever. Denise and Robert took the master suite, with its attached bathroom and view of the forest. That night, after Noah was asleep, they sat together on the porch swing. "Tell me," Denise said quietly, "what happened with the Rossettis?" Robert was silent for a long moment. "I made them a choice. Leave New York and never come back, or die. Most chose to leave. The ones who didn't..." He didn't finish. "How many? Does it matter?" "I don't know." Denise looked at him. "I should be horrified, shouldn't I? By what you did, by what you're capable of." "Probably. But I'm not." She took his hand. "I'm grateful. Because my son is safe. Because we can sleep at night without fear. Because you did what needed to be done. Robert brought her hand to his lips. I would do it again, 1,000 times over. I know. They sat in comfortable silence, the swing creaking softly beneath them. When do you want to get married? Robert asked eventually. Denise laughed. Most people would take things slower. We're not most people. No, she agreed. We're not. She thought about it, about everything they'd been through, about the 4 years apart and the 2 weeks that had changed everything. Soon, she said finally. I want to marry you soon. Tomorrow? Robert, I'm serious. He turned to face her, eyes intense. Why wait? We've wasted enough time. Let's not waste any more. Denise searched his face, saw the sincerity there, the desperate need to make this real, permanent, unbreakable. Okay, she said. Tomorrow. They got married in the living room of their new house. It was nothing like Denise had imagined a wedding would be. No white dress, no flowers, no guests. Just a judge Robert knew, Marco and Tony as witnesses, and Noah sitting on the couch in his dinosaur pajamas, swinging his legs and asking when they could have cake. Do you, Denise Carter, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? Denise looked at Robert, at this dangerous, broken, fiercely protective man who'd fought 12 people to keep her son safe, who'd bought them a house, who'd promised forever. I do, she said. And do you, Robert Salvatore, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. Then by the power vested in me by the state of Connecticut, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride. Robert kissed her like she was air, and he'd been drowning. When they broke apart, Noah was clapping enthusiastically. Does this mean we're a family now? He asked. Robert knelt down to Noah's level. Yeah, buddy, we're a family. Good. Noah threw his arms around Robert's neck. I love you, Daddy. Robert's eyes filled with tears. I love you too, son. Denise watched them, her heart so full she thought it might burst. This wasn't the life she'd planned. It wasn't safe or simple or conventional, but it was theirs. And that was enough. 6 months later, the nightmare came less frequently now. Noah still had bad nights occasionally, waking up gasping for air, phantom asthma attacks triggered by stress or fear. But they were manageable. Robert had made sure Noah had the best pulmonologist in the state, medication that actually worked, and an inhaler in every room of the house. More importantly, Noah felt safe. He called Robert Daddy without hesitation now. He ran to him when he got home from work. He asked him for help with puzzles, for stories at bedtime, for explanations about why the sky was blue and where rain came from. And Robert, the man who'd built an empire on fear, answered every question with infinite patience. Denise watched it happen, this transformation. Watched Robert soften around the edges, smile more easily, laugh at Noah's jokes even when they didn't make sense. They had family dinners now, real ones, where they sat around the table and talked about their days. Robert told carefully edited stories about work. Noah talked about the preschool he'd started attending. Denise shared anecdotes from the small bookstore she'd opened in town, funded by Robert, but run entirely by her. It was normal, beautifully, impossibly normal. On a quiet Sunday morning in early fall, Denise woke to find Robert already awake, watching her again. You're doing that thing again, she murmured sleepily. What thing? The staring thing, like you're trying to memorize me. Maybe I am. He brushed hair from her face. Can't be too careful. I'm not going anywhere. I know. But I spent 4 years without you. I'm allowed to be paranoid. Denise smiled. She rolled over, pressing close to him, breathing in the scent that had become home. Have I told you lately that I love you? Not since last night. Then I love you. I love you too. Robert kissed her forehead. Both of you and Noah are the best thing that ever happened to me. A soft knock interrupted them. The door cracked open, and Noah peeked in, rabbit dangling from one hand. "Can I come in?" he asked in a stage whisper. "Always," Robert said. Noah climbed onto the bed, wiggling between them like he'd done countless times before. He yawned, settling against Robert's chest. "Daddy?" "Yeah, buddy. I'm glad you found us." Robert's arms tightened around him. "Me too, Noah. Me too." They lay there together, Denise, Robert, and Noah, 3 people who'd found each other against impossible odds. 3 people who'd fought their way through darkness to reach the light. Outside, morning sun filtered through the curtains, painting the room in shades of gold. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, Denise felt truly, completely at peace. Sometimes salvation comes from the most unexpected places. Sometimes the most dangerous man in the city is exactly the protector you need. And sometimes, love means choosing trust over fear, choosing to build a family from broken pieces, choosing to believe that people can change. Robert Salvatore wasn't perfect. He never would be. His past was written in blood and violence, and there were parts of his life that would always exist in shadow. But he was Noah's father, Denise's husband, a man who'd learned that the strongest thing you can do isn't to inspire fear. It's to protect the people who make you feel something other than fear. And in the end, that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. If this story touched something inside you, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Robert's journey from feared mafia boss to devoted father? Did Denise make the right choice? Share your thoughts. We read every single comment. Hit the like button to support more stories about redemption, second chances, and the power of love to transform even the darkest hearts. And subscribe to Crimson Ties, because we bring you new emotional journeys like this every single day. Before you go, check out the next video on screen or explore our playlist for more stories about dangerous men finding their humanity through the love of brave women and innocent children. Thank you for being here with us today. Until next time, remember, everyone deserves a second chance. Even the people the world has written off, even the broken, even the dangerous. Good night, and stay safe out there.